Hey friends, it's Mike. It's Wednesday, December 15th, and I got this email yesterday from YouTube. Hi, Sage of Quay Radio. So this is addressed to my main channel. After a manual review, a copyright owner has claimed some material in your video. As a result, your video has been blocked and can no longer be played on YouTube. This is not a copyright strike. This claim does not affect your account status. What video was it? It was my video, is Peter Jackson's Get Back Revising Beatle History, and I want you to note the upload date. It was August of 2021, so it was 4 months ago. And what was the copyrighted content? The Beatles Get Back Season 1 Episode 3, which is actually the original promo or trailer that Peter put out a number of months ago. And who claimed it? Disney. Okay, so a manual review claimed by Disney, which means they're going on a fishing expedition. And for those of us that do research where we're trying to reveal the truth, we bump up against these type of tactics all the time. So it was not a surprise. I've gotten to the point where, okay, well, what took you so long? You know? Anyway, so let me give you the backstory on this. Whenever I do presentations, especially large presentations, you almost always have to use some copyrighted material in order to do the research, to make comparisons, to critique, to editorialize, to render an opinion. And all of that falls under the fair use clause in the copyright law. But what a lot of people don't realize about fair use is it's not a right, it's a legal defense. So if you want to state your position that this falls under fair use, you can go into options, and there is a selection you can make that goes back to the party making the claim, in this case Disney, that your position is this falls under fair use. And in all likelihood, the party making the claim is still going to say, nope, we want it out. At this point, YouTube can go in and review the content and make a determination as to whether it is a copyright issue or not. But my experience has been that YouTube is not interested in sandwiching itself in between this discussion. So inevitably what happens in these types of situations is the video will be blocked and it won't be visible. But YouTube does allow the content creator to go in and to trim or remove that copyrighted content. So if you go into your YouTube studio and you look at your video and you take a look at copyright issues, it's going to show you the copyright claim starts here and ends there. And then you have the ability to click trim, and YouTube will reprocess the video without that content. And that's ultimately what I did, because I didn't want the video to come down, not for 3 minutes of content, because that's how long the promo was, 3 minutes. But I want to put the 3 minutes in context. That 3-minute promo is within the scope of an 8-hour documentary. So Disney went in, filed a copyright claim based upon 3 minutes of an 8-hour documentary that they put out. In my mind, that is fair use. But with these large companies, especially when we know that fair use is not a right, but a legal defense, their attitude is, hey, if you want to go toe-to-toe with us, we have deep pockets and you don't. So let me take a moment and explain my process, how I go about trying to avoid any copyright issues that might block one of my videos. What I do is, as I'm working the presentation, I will save it, and then I will take the saved or draft version of the presentation in a video format, and I will upload it to YouTube. And YouTube will then run a scan of the video utilizing Content ID. And what Content ID does is to detect copyrighted content contained within your video. If copyrighted material is identified in your video, then you will receive an email from YouTube telling you so. Now, many times what happens is the owner of the copyright has no problem with you using their content because they get paid for it. They pick up the revenue. So it's a win for them. You did all the work, they get paid. Other times, with some copyright owners, they won't allow the content to be in your video. They will just block it worldwide. So, in the case with this video, I knew obviously that I had put in a 3-minute trailer, and to put it into perspective, it's 3 minutes out of an 8-hour documentary that was released. Okay, so I just want to make sure we put that perspective and that context around the 3 minutes. So after I uploaded the draft version of the presentation, YouTube identified the song Get Back in my video. And that's because Get Back was being played during Peter's 3-minute trailer. And UMG, who is the publisher, said, hey, no problem, you can use the song, we get the revenue. Not quite fair in a way. I can see shared revenue because I did all the work, right? But in either case, that's neither here nor there. But what did not get flagged was the video portion of the trailer, which would be Disney. So I thought, this is great. Disney is allowing the trailer to be used with no copyright issues that would block the video. Yes, Get Back got flagged, but it wasn't being blocked. And I was okay with that. So when the video premiered back in August of 2021, there was really no issues with using Peter's trailer. Aside from the fact, like I said, that Get Back was flagged, but there was no problems with running the video. It was not blocked. And then, 4 months later, there's an issue. So somebody went in, I'm assuming somebody from Disney, they watched the video, they submitted a copyright claim, there was a manual review by YouTube and said, yeah, that looks like your stuff all right. And so Disney then said, hey, we're claiming that. And they didn't say, we'll collect the revenue. They said, your video has been blocked. And again, this is 4 months after I premiered the video. So for 4 months, there was no problem. And the question I had when I got this email is, how in the world did Disney not have Content ID associated with that trailer? I find that very, very hard to believe. Is it possible? Anything is possible. But I think what probably happened was they watched my presentation and said, hey, he's not on the sidelines with pom-poms cheering this documentary on. He's actually critiquing it and he's baselining it against the historical narrative. And he's questioning whether there's some type of revisionist history taking place. Nope, we don't want that. That's not happy talk. So we're going to ding him. And we're going to lay claim to that piece of his video. The presentation is 90 minutes long, by the way. So this is 3 minutes within a 90-minute presentation. And their 3 minutes, again, comes from a documentary that was put out that is 8 hours in length. So that's what I think happened. I think that they watched it. They didn't like what they were hearing and watching. And so they turned around and said, well, we'll fix his wagon. We'll just try to block his video. But then what I was able to do, because YouTube has this functionality in the YouTube studio where you can trim out copyrighted material. And this allows you to keep your video up. You don't lose the views. The only thing that's missing is the piece that you removed. And at the end of the day, I was not going to cry my beer about 3 minutes contained within a 90-minute presentation that I did. So I just removed it. And again, this copyright issue only pertains to my main channel. So that's where they watched it. If they had watched it on my Paul is Dead channel, I would have received the same exact email. And I fully expect at some point they will find it on my Paul is Dead channel, and I'll have to go through the same process again where I remove the content and we're going to be missing 3 minutes of the trailer in the presentation. So I just wanted to explain this a little bit. And something very similar to this happened to me when I uploaded my big presentation, Did the Beatles Write All Their Own Music? And I covered this before in a video that goes back a ways. But initially what happened was I used 40 seconds at the very end of my presentation of John Lennon's song, God, where he says, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that. And he says, I don't believe in Beatles. And I thought that was a great way to end the presentation. And in that case, what happened when I uploaded the video, Content ID picked up the song God, and the publisher, and I believe it was UMG, yes, yeah, it was UMG, said, no problem. You can use God. We're going to pick up the revenue. So for 6 months, I had no problem with having God in my presentation. Did the Beatles write all their own music? And then as the presentation was picking up a head of steam, and I think it was around 50,000 views at that time, 6 months running, and I had 50,000 views, then I received an email from YouTube, and UMG blocked the video worldwide because of the song God. So initially they said, yes, we are the publisher of the song, but there's no problem using it. And then after 6 months and a bunch of people were watching it, they turned around and they said, boom, we're going to block it. So what I had to do in that case, unfortunately, this killed me to do this, but I had to do it because, again, I wasn't going to let 40 seconds ruin a 4.5-hour presentation. YouTube allows you to substitute a copyrighted song with a copyright-free song that they have in their library. So I ended up doing that. So just to give you a little insight as to how this works, they are definitely watching my content because I get little reminders like this every once in a while. And that's okay. You know, I'll just keep on keeping on. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with a very brief 17-second clip that was sent to me today by a listener. And it's George Martin talking about when he first met the Beatles. And what I want you to keep in mind as you're watching this clip is the official narrative tells us that between 1956 and 1962, when the Beatles met George Martin, the contract with EMI was signed in June of 1962. We are told that the Lennon and McCartney songwriting team wrote 100 songs. So keep that in mind as you're watching this very brief clip of George Martin. If I don't speak to you between now and the holidays, everyone have a great, great holiday. Spend a lot of time with your family and friends, and be as free as you can possibly be. Take care, and we will talk soon. Bye now.
I spent a few hours with them in Abbey Road and fell in love with them because they had great charisma. They certainly had it wasn't at all obvious that they could be songwriters at this stage because their songs were pretty awful. Even then, Love Me Do was the best thing we had.